Everybody, it's the day after the 2025 NFL draft. I'm not even in my gear today. Honestly, I wasn't going to get on today, but wanted to get on and share a few thoughts. Probably 30 minutes here, and I'll break it up into different segments. So, obviously, we had this weekend, lots of drama. Basically, one of the most talked about sport events or results in quite some time, not just related to the NFL, but sports in general. And there's opinions that range from every end of the spectrum across the world. And it's just social media is lit up. So obviously, I'm going to start just for a little bit. I've covered a lot on this topic. My feelings are very well known. Couple of things here on Shedeur Sanders. I still am kind of like pinching myself, if I'm going to be honest, that I predicted on January 19th that he would be a fifth-round pick. I spoke specifically to and about the Cleveland Browns to stay away. He was drafted in the fifth round, and he was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. That's just holy cow. I mean, I get some things right sometimes, but that was whoa. I guess I saw that one coming. So here's my overall thoughts. So this thing was blown out of proportion from moment one, and anyone who really cares about this type of stuff, I would steer you to Albert Breer's comments, formerly of NFL Network, been plugged into the NFL for a very, very long time. He put out a 5-6 minute clip on Shedeur, and I thought it was really, really well done. Paraphrasing here, totally encourage you to go take a look at it. But inside of the NFL circles, Shedeur Sanders was never, ever talked about a first-round draft pick. It just wasn't believed by them, according to him. And you can look at Schefter, you can look at a lot of different people. Forget what Mel Kiper thinks. Inside the NFL circles, they did not believe he had the talent for a first-round pick or even second or third-round pick. And then when you factor in the attitude issues, the never playing for anybody but his father, all the drama that comes with him, on top of not having the athleticism and the projectable tools to be a top flight NFL quarterback, I think a lot of people stayed away from that. It's pretty common knowledge that he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. His father got involved in the process. And let's just be honest. If you're employing somebody and mom or dad is getting involved and the person themselves is very, very difficult to work with and believes that they know everything and are not taught. I mean, he's got videos, he being both of them, but he being Shedeur has videos out that in 45-second clips, you would think to yourself, he's known for one at the combine saying history always repeats itself. And that's what they believe as a family. Well, if history always repeats itself and you believe that, then history will repeat itself in the way that you act and conduct yourself. And to be a leader of a franchise, a leader at the quarterback position, unlike your dad, who was a Hall of Fame cornerback, it's totally, totally different. And people got to want to follow you, and people got to want to go in the trenches and want to protect you and go in any foxhole you go in. And I am not sure that NFL players are going to want to do that. In fact, I think he's going to be a marked man by every NFL defender that you can possibly think of. I think they disrespect him for the way he's conducted himself. This is not a black thing. It's not a white thing. It's not an Asian thing. This is such a ridiculous narrative that just always seems to pop up. 53.5% approximately as of 2023 players in the NFL are African-American. 26 out of the first 32 picks were African-American. 2 black quarterbacks were taken before Shedeur Sanders. This is not a race issue. It's just not. If anyone should have an issue, the number one pick in the NFL draft, Cam Ward, got no attention because it was all about Shedeur Sanders. It was a hype machine, folks. It was hyped up from his dad. It was hyped up from him from day one. And it gave this perception and this image to the world that he was going to be this and that. And the NFL didn't agree from day one. That's on record. It's well known. And as it unfolded and people called it a drop, and Albert Breer, again, put it really well. He says, notice I didn't mention slide. Notice I didn't mention fall. because it really wasn't a slide. And in the NFL circles, they didn't believe it was a slide or a fall. It's what they thought he was. It's what I thought he was, that he was a 5th-round flyer experiment if you were willing to do it at your own peril and put up with everything that comes with. I just a lot of credit to a lot of black men and women that were on social media saying, how in the world can you think that this is a race issue? And they cited some of the statistics that are similar statistics that it's just a ridiculous argument. It's what gets resorted to. I can't even stand talking about this topic. If you think that the NFL sees race, sees color, you're out of your mind. They're looking for a return on their investment. They're looking for the best player, and it has to be a fit. And there's a lot of criteria as to what it could fit, and talent isn't the only criteria. There's a lot. There's on the field, there's off the field. So here's what I think. There's varying opinions on all sides of the spectrum here about him landing in Cleveland. I thought this was a terrible place for him to go to. Damian Woody, former New England Patriot, Detroit Lion. I love Damian. I love his perspective, but I couldn't disagree more. He said that this is the perfect landing spot for Shedeur Sanders. I could not disagree more. That is a dysfunctional franchise that lacks leadership at the top, that is just making mistake after mistake after mistake. When they look at the video, when they took Shedeur Sanders, it was a golf clap, literally a golf clap. Bill Musgrave, who is the quarterback coach, per Adam Schefter, and I'm paraphrasing here, I don't want to misquote it, but Deion and Musgrave spoke. They played together, I believe, in San Francisco. He basically said he'll take care of him. I mean, every father, right? And I'm not one, but I was a coach for a long time, and I understand it from a unique perspective. Every father cares about their son or their daughter, but to the extent that he has interjected himself into everything, it's just not going to end well. Any decision that Stefanski or the organization makes will be under a microscope, times 40. I just don't understand. I don't see how any of this can be successful. First of all, you take 2 quarterbacks after you just signed Joe Flacco, and you have Pickett in there, and you have Deshaun Watson. That's going to end, and we all know that. They're going to dump him. But this makes no sense. I believe that this was a favor. I really believe that this was a favor for Deion. Why Cleveland would bring this in? You have an absolute Molotov cocktail setup for this not to go right. First of all, I believe Dillon Gabriel is a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. Pickett might be a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. Joe Flacco's a stopgap measure. Veteran, let the young guys come in. It was going to be Pickett and him fighting for the job. And then let's see if we can draft, somebody else for the future, because I don't think they fully believe in Pickett either. But you draft Dillon Gabriel and then you draft Shedeur Sanders. It's like, what are you doing? I'm all for competition. I think competition breeds excellence. I think if there isn't somebody there to push you, it could have, negative impact. But also, you got to be thinking about how you build the competitive environment. So did you give Dillon Gabriel a fair shot? You invested 5th-round pick in both of these guys, or 4th and a 5th. I don't even know where Dillon was. I think they're both 5th. It's not a throwaway pick either. It's not like, Will Howard went, I believe, in the 6th, and Quinn Ewers went in the 7th. That's really a dice throw. You could get some really good players in the 5th round. So if you made a decision to draft Dillon Gabriel and you follow up right after by taking Shedeur Sanders and everything that comes with that, how does that set you up for success? How does that create a competitive environment? What happens if Gabriel wins the job? Which I believe he will, but at some point, it might not be day one, but at some point he wins the job and they build a franchise around Dillon Gabriel. Let's assume that I'm correct on that. What happens then? You think Shedeur Sanders? January 19th, I said Shedeur Sanders is nothing more than a clipboard holder. You think that he's going to stay behind the scenes and he's going to support Dylan Gabriel? No. The narrative will be it's racist. The narrative will be it's hating. The narrative will be how could you put Dylan Gabriel? Shedeur Sanders is better. There's always a backup quarterback. The backup quarterback a lot of times is the most popular person on the team. Now you make this guy the backup quarterback, it will never end. And I believe that's why you saw the golf clap. No, I don't think any one of those guys wants to deal with this show that's coming to town. How do you win? How do you get through that? It's a no-win situation, and it's a lose, lose, lose situation. It's a lose for somebody like Dylan Gabriel and the quarterbacks in the room. It's really a lose for Shedeur Sanders too. It's a lose for the team, for the franchise, for the fans, and for the city. You just set yourself up to fail. That's my opinion. I don't see how that is setting yourself up for success. I don't. I could see two running backs being selected, and there are some examples of teams that took two running backs very close to each other, because that has become a dual. There's not very many Saquon Barkleys in the NFL. Most teams do it in tandem. There's an A and a B. There's the Thunder and the Lightning, whatever you want to call it. Same thing with wide receivers. Multiple people play that position. One quarterback can play. And then a lot of times the fans want the second quarterback or the backup quarterback to play. So this is not going to end well. Deion's going to interject himself. Shedeur Sanders is going to not, history's going to repeat itself, right? He's not going to stay quiet. I came out and did a video yesterday. I said one of two things was going to happen. He either wasn't going to get drafted or he was going to get drafted. He would be a backup and then probably find himself out of the league probably within 3 years, because I think he has other interests. I think those other interests are more important to him. And I think that this is just my opinion. I mean, he can do whatever the hell he wants, but I think he's really actually very talented at that. He's got an engaging personality. He's got some of the swag. I think he could be a tremendous brand builder. I think he could do very well. He's already done very well. But I don't think that equates on the football field, and I think they interfere with one another. I think it's a conflict of interest. This guy is never going to be a top-flight NFL quarterback. And for the record, I got called a snow roach this morning. I imagine that's because I'm white. I don't know. I'd never heard that in my life. I mean, I'm taking a lot of heat, and I've said that before. If I didn't think that this heat was coming, then I wouldn't do what I do here. And if it ends up bothering me, then I'll step away from it. But the truth is this: it's not race. This is performance related, and this is attitude related. Everybody thinks that there's this collusion and the NFL's out to get him. This has all been out front and center. It's just nobody wanted to pay attention to it, including Mel Kiper. His attitude, you could look at the 45-second clip. Do you know who my father is? If you don't expect me to come, and I'm paraphrasing again, if you don't expect me to come and change your culture, then don't draft me. Then don't pick me. They didn't pick you because they don't believe in what you're spouting. They just don't. And they don't want to deal with your dad either, regardless of. Deion seems like a great guy. Deion's done some really good things for football. Deion is a Hall of Famer. Deion's best corner I ever seen. So, I mean, he invented the take away half of the field. That's all great, but that has nothing to do with this. It doesn't have anything to do with, Shedeur's ability to lead a franchise, which is first and foremost. And I'm going to go on record again here to prove that this is not a white or black thing. It's not a color thing. Ryan Leaf had all the skills in the world. He was an asshole, and he expired. Johnny Manziel, another one. That was a hype machine, maybe as good or better than the whole Shedeur thing. And people fell for it. And look who fell for it. Shocker, right? Look who fell for it. Baker Mayfield 1.0. How did that work? Jim McMahon, if you go back to the 80s, if he didn't have leaders like Walter Payton and Mike Singletary and Wilbur Marshall and Otis Smith and Richard Dent and Gary Fensick and Steve McMichael and a lot of those guys to kind of keep that somewhat bumpered in and somewhat within the rails, it would have went off the rails because there was leadership there. There's not leadership in Cleveland. The leadership at the top with Jimmy Haslam isn't even there. Jimmy Haslam is a great business owner. well chronicled what he's done in his business career. He's not a top flight owner. He's made massive mistakes, and he's overridden his football people, and it's caused a disaster. See Deshaun Watson, the first mistake of getting him, and then the second mistake of re-signing him. Albert Breer talks about this too. It has to be a great fit. He talks about Bo Nix finding a right team to be a great fit. I personally had Bo Nix very high last year. I think he could have fit in a lot of different situations, but it was a perfect fit with Sean Payton. It was a structured, very successful Hall of Fame coach that you were putting with him, and it could fast track. It wasn't a dysfunctional situation. It was before Payton got there, but he quickly turned it around. Go to the playoffs. You have a rookie quarterback up for Rookie of the Year and goes to the playoffs, right? So that's a marriage and a match made in heaven. And I said it last year, it's a lot like Breeze and Peyton. Nix and Peyton would actually be better than Breeze and Peyton. Yes, I said it. I think Nix has a much better upside than Drew Brees. Not much better, but significantly enough better to stand out above him. Shedeur Sanders is going to a chaotic situation. There's nothing there. There's not true leadership there. You want to say Myles Garrett? Fine, say Myles Garrett. There's just nothing there. And you have a relatively young coach who, while he might be talented, there's no track record. If you think that Shedeur Sanders is going to go in there and listen to Kevin Stefanski and everything's going to go well, it's not. And the reason it's not, one of the reasons it's not, is the only coach in Shedeur Sanders' life has been his father. He's never had to listen to anybody else. He's been groomed and structured and mentored and taught by his dad and his dad only. This is a problem. This is a big time problem. We talked at former youth coach. We talk about that, about only playing one sport, how you have to play other sports to have range and build your skills and learn how to interact with different people on different levels in different sports. And this is a lot the same. This is a first. This is a quarterback, folks. Peyton Manning, and you want to talk about Eli Manning and his father's influence and all that type of stuff. Yeah, did dad coach him in the backyard? Yeah. Dad didn't coach him at every level. Come on. This is pretty basic stuff. All right. So Mel Kiper, he's taken a lot of heat, and people saying he embarrassed himself. He embarrassed ESPN. Reese Davis, if you saw him, basically told him enough yesterday. Mel Kiper, Mel Kiper used to be one of one. Does anybody remember when Todd McShay came on ESPN many years ago? He was basically the first person that came in and threatened the orbit of Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper for 30 years prior to that at the time was the only guy. Guess what? There's tens of thousands of Mel Kipers now. There's people like me that have a platform like this that get an opinion out. And it's much, much more powerful and much, much more wide-ranging than what Mel Kiper says. And so Mel Kiper had, wrongly so, Shedeur Sanders as his number one on his board for a long time. And he never adjusted. He didn't change. And he calls it a drop, and it's a disgrace, and the NFL screws up quarterbacks for years. They don't know what they're doing. The evaluation is horrible. Yeah, you were behind Jimmy Clausen. You were behind a ton of players that you said were going to be great. I don't think that the NFL is not always right. Scouts are not always right. A lot of times it's a dart throw. There's risk involved. But Mel Kiper really made an ass of himself. But the reason he made an ass of himself is from where he sits, the seat that he sits is more pressurized now than it has ever been in the history of his career doing what he did. Because in order to stay relevant in this world where it isn't just turn on the TV channel and see what a network says, like it was for so long for him, it's turn on a show like this. And can somebody predict Shedeur Sanders going in the 5th round as I did? There's a lot of people out there doing this. So Mel has to be spot on. And when he realized that he wasn't spot on, he lashed out. And then it became, there's something going on. There's collusion. It's race. It's disgusting. It's a disgrace. No, Mel, what ended up happening was You miscalculated. And Mel Kiper has done pretty amazing job for somebody never being in the NFL over 40 years. Dude, he's a machine. He really is a machine. And he's been right more times than wrong. But he was wrong on this one. And he's forcing the issue because he has to be right. He's threading a needle right now, or he becomes irrelevant. He becomes replaced. And that may behind the scenes have already been discussed. And they might be looking at other things. And there's guys like Orlovsky, and McShay's not there anymore, but there's guys like Orlovsky, and there's guys like Louis Riddick and Booger McFarland. There's a lot of guys now. So Mel has to hit home runs almost every time. So that's, I think, what we saw take place there. All right, overall on the draft. So I'm on record for saying Jackson Dart is the best quarterback in the NFL draft. I said it for weeks and months prior to the draft. I still hold true to it. Tons and tons of props to the Giants for selecting him. That was a ballsy move. And you want to talk about a team that just, holy smokes, hit an absolute grand slam. Abdul Carter, Jackson Dart, Cam Scadaboo, they got better quickly, like really, really quickly. And you're moving on from the Daniel Jones era. People said, well, oh my God, here we go again. Oh my God, the Giants, they don't draft black quarterbacks. They don't play black quarterbacks. They went and got Russell Wilson. They went and got Jameis Winston. They've had Tyrod Taylor. This is ridiculous. Well, how are they going to have all those guys in the room? If anybody here thinks that the Giants picked up Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston to be the quarterback for the next 10 years, you're mistaken. Russell Wilson's too old for that. He isn't as good as he once was to be that. And Jameis Winston has never been that, which is why he can't stay in one place too many times. Seems like a great guy. That's another guy who had a major issue coming out of college. I almost forgot about that. He was just, whoa, okay? And it hurt him. And he's completely changed. But he just never was that good. He can give you moments. He can give you splashes. Great backup, actually, but just not a starter. And there's another guy who it has been proven that you cannot conduct yourself that way and stay and make it in the NFL. Can you find me one person? Can you find me one NFL starter that acts like Shedeur Sanders does, that acts like Johnny Manziel did, that acts like Ryan Leaf did, that acts like Baker Mayfield 1.0 did? Can you find anybody? Can you list anybody? And the reason is you see it in cornerbacks, you see it in wide receivers, you see it in other places, but teams don't follow those positions. Organizations aren't built around those positions. Receivers, what is like the average NFL player's career is 3.5 years. The one that has a lot of longevity is a quarterback. It's a decision you make for 10 to 12 years at the position. You're just not going to invest. I showed it yesterday. No franchise in the NFL is worth less than $3 billion as of 2022, ranging $3 billion to $8 billion, and it's more now. So you're not giving the keys to your franchise to somebody who can't conduct themselves on and off the field. And if you show that you can't, you end up gone from that team. Maybe somebody else will give you a shot, or you find yourself right out of the league. Johnny Manziel, which he never was good enough, and everybody knew that. Hype machine and all of this, everybody knew that. Sometimes what works at a lot of times what works at the college level doesn't translate to the NFL. Manziel's great example. Charlie Ward, tremendous college player. Tony Rice, and there's another one from way back. Notre Dame, number 9. Very good college quarterback, could play in a system in the college level, doesn't translate to the NFL in every instance. And I don't think this is Shedeur Sanders either. Not race, not anything having to do with race. Has to do with lack of ability to play at the NFL level, and then everything that comes with it. So the Giants, A+, unbelievable job. The Patriots, whoa. Will Campbell, who I was spot on at number 4. Trevion Williams, who I think is equivalent, if not better, than Ashton Giante. Giante's out of this world. But I think TreVeyon Henderson under the radar on everybody's, boards, and his teammate Quinshon Judkins got taken, I think, 2 or 3 picks before him. But TreVeyon to the pass. Kyle Williams, wide receiver from Washington State, terrific player. I'm just going to cite a few teams. I'm not getting into all the breaking down stuff. The Cincinnati Bengals are an absolute mess. That is not going to end well either there. What they did with T. Higgins, and I don't want to go over it again, but T. Higgins and Chase and Burrow, way too much money spent. They don't have enough to go around. And even if you did have enough to go around, you have to be able to draft. You have to be able to bring in guys that can instantly impact as a rookie or a second-year guy in order to make that work, because you can't keep on paying guys the big money. So when you look at teams like the Giants, historically teams like the Patriots, historically teams like the Rams, the Steelers, that draft, and they don't necessarily go out and get massive free agents. That's how you do it. The Bengals did it the opposite, and I just don't think that that's going to work. The Browns, that's a mess. 2 running backs, two quarterbacks. They can simply never seem to get out of their own way, and I think they made massive mistakes here. We'll see if that ends up being right. The Steelers, I think it was a terrific draft. They got my guy Jack Sawyer in there, but that's a perfect fit for Pittsburgh. I think the dude's a beast. I think he was under-regarded. He was under-drafted. He was a lot of things. Derek Harmon, Caleb Johnson, Jack Sawyer, Will Howard, a steal at number 6, as the whole world waits on Aaron Rodgers again. That's I don't even want to get into that. It's just not worth it all. But Will Howard, they got Rudolph back there, familiar with the system and all of that. Somebody said, well, you have Mason Rudolph. Would you draft Will Howard? Guys, Will Howard has a higher upside than Mason Rudolph ever had. Let's just call that what it is. So actually, that was some really good value there in the 6th. The Raiders, terrific. This is Tom Brady. Multiple chances to draft Shedeur. He counseled him. He advised him. He worked with him. He didn't take him. I think everybody got on Tom's phone and asked him personally what he thought, and I think the word was out all throughout the league. But Giante at 6, I wanted to see them take somebody else at 6 and circle back and get TreVeyon Henderson. The Raiders are my new second favorite team. I support them with everything I got after my Lions. Giante, Jack Beck, Charles Grant, Dante Thornton, really, really well done there. Seattle did a heck of a job. You know who did a heck of a job too is Carolina. Tata, I had at number 8 to them, and he went there. Nick Scorton, Princely, Etienne, Jimmy Horn in the 6th round. That's good value there. And Seattle did super well. The Lions, this is, man, I said it yesterday. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, they love them some Big Ten. They love them some SEC. And man, yesterday somebody said, on X, they said, so what's everybody thinking about the Lions picks? And I said, I think we're in a Georgia state of mind. I mean, they drafted 3 guys from Georgia, and I don't blame them. Amazing talent that comes out of that school, extremely well coached, playing at the highest level, playing against the best talent in the world, constantly playing and winning, but constantly playing to win the national championship. And, they did it again. Tyleek from Ohio State, Tate Rutledge, guard from Georgia, Isaac Tesla, that a lot of people don't seem to understand. And again, my man Easy over at Woodward Sports went crazy because they gave up a lot to get him. This dude is ridiculous. Watch him play out. Miles Frazier, that's a huge steal where they got him. Again, it's the Lions is trenches, both sides, and out. And they decided 5 years ago, and they're doing it still. It is a winning formula. If you cannot win the trenches, you can't win anything. You can't protect. You can't stop. Run the ball. I mean, they clearly want to run the ball. No disrespect to Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a system guy. Jared Goff doesn't make everyone in the world, every player in the world on any team, if he was, better. He doesn't. You've got to fit well into a system, have good structure, run him, good protection, let him run the play action. He's got He's got good, terrific 1-2 punch. Obviously, Gibbs and Montgomery. He's got a great tight end. He's got a great wide receiver in St. Brown. We'll see Jameson if it turns out. Tesla now it's Cooper Kupp on steroids, and I don't mean anything bad by that. Bigger, stronger, faster, attacks the ball at the high point, can run away from guys, toughness, serious toughness. Again, another SEC guy. Miles Frazier, LSU, SEC guy. Ahmad Hassan, you gotta love Hassan Hassanin. I'm butchering that. Sorry, Ahmed, from Boise State. Another winning organization, not as strong a competition, but he said to Dan Campbell, "I will die for you on the field." I mean, that's just the kind of attitude that these guys want, and they're keeping getting, and it is working wonderfully. Dan Jackson from safety, who I watch a lot of college football and saw Georgia play a lot. Dominic Lovett, watch both of them. Dan Jackson, maybe certainly not 7th round, not the greatest tool set, not the greatest athleticism, but his numbers are really, really good against not allowing touchdowns, quarterback QBR, and how he defends against that are all there. Dominic Lovett is it's just a flyer, and you see if that works out. So all in all, most have them at a B. I like what they've done. It's continue to build. We can argue the edge, but again, it's hard to discount or criticize or question anything that Brad Holmes does, because he continues to get it right. And the coaching is at such a high level. So even guys that are not on everybody's board as this or that, and maybe they lack a little bit of talent, as versus some of the other guys that coach them up is in Detroit. And they can take guys that don't, that aren't that 98 on a scale, that are maybe an 88 on a scale, and they can legitimately get them at the 93, 94 percentile level if you're grading on a 100 scale. So it's important that everybody realize it. People are hammering on Tyreek. He basically got a C+ grade. Watch what he's gonna do. First of all, the skill set that he has and how that skill set increases in this system with those players around him. He's gonna get a chance to flourish. And he doesn't have to come in and be the guy. There are other people there. You have Hutchinson at one end. You've got Aleem McNeil. And by the way, anybody that wants to question this, DJ Reader is an elder statesman now. Aleem McNeil may not be back until Thanksgiving. So you have to shore that up. If there was ever an example about you don't have enough players and what can happen during an NFL season, the Lions were the blueprint. They were what everyone can look at and see what can happen and how you need to have depth to overcome. And to go 15-2 and overcome and get to where they got when you basically have an entire side of the ball decimated, that is directly correlated to how you draft and to the depth that you build. So, it crossed my mind. Oh, another offensive lineman. Guys, it's proven for decades how to do it. Patriots, Steelers, Rams, Ravens, they're masters at it. And they keep on reloading and reloading. Contracts come up. Guys go for big money. Guys go to teams for super money where the player was can't afford it because they've done so many of those. When you draft so good, they all come up at the same time, right? But you keep reloading year after year after year after year. Then guys move on, next man up. Guys move on, next man up. Somebody gets hurt, next man up. There are no excuses in the NFL. And this is Ozzie Newsome, one of the best ever to do it. Kevin Colbert for the Steelers, retired now, one of the best ever to do it. Les Snead, Rams, one of the best ever to do it. Bill Belichick, the Patriots, one of the best ever to do it. He's taking a lot of heat right now. John Schneider for Seattle, one of the best ever to do it. Over and over and over and over, they've proven what works. And it's nice as from from Michigan, 52 years, relocated to Florida. Now it's the most amazing thing after what we went through for decades on the blueprint of how not to do it, to then see how you can do it and how it should be done. And they're doing it year after year after year. It's repetitive now. It's expected. But there's still many people that question what they're doing. Did they really get the edge? Well, we're going to see. Watch what happens with a 6th-round pick. It would not shock me if he's Ahmed, if he's an instant. It wouldn't surprise me if he's an instant contributor. Seriously. They didn't draft him at 6th and just count on him being a flyer. I believe that they believe that he has something that can contribute right away. And as they continue to coach him up and put him in a position to succeed, next thing you know, you got this guy that's performing. And then you look back at history a year later, 2 years later. Hey, where'd this guy come from? Oh, Boise State, 6th round. Well, how'd they do that? So teams like Cleveland that just get it wrong, they got the Lions disease. The same old Lions, it's the same old Browns disease. You don't draft 2 quarterbacks to come compete for the same job. That tells you don't believe in either one of them. And it isn't either one of them that you're drafting. And it says that you don't believe in who is in your room already. That's not like a guy we're going to draft and groom over the next couple of years to wait his turn. You're going to have 2 guys. It's just, whoa, this is not going to go well. Cleveland jacked themselves up. Already a disastrous situation, got worse. I don't think anyone, honestly, this is my opinion. I have no evidence of this. It's just kind of put the puzzle together, put the pieces together. I don't think anyone in that building believes in what they did with Shedeur Sanders. I think they all see the writing on the wall. You could never see 10 people it was in the picture that looked more discouraged after that pick than them, because they know what's coming. If you want to talk about collusion, it wasn't the NFL. It was Deion Sanders colluding with Bill Musgrave to get Shedeur Sanders finally drafted to the Cleveland Browns. That's per Adam Schefter that they talked. Okay? That didn't happen by mistake. And it's not going to stop. How many times you think Bill Musgrave's phone is going to ring throughout the year? Whether he's playing or he's not. It's not going to stop. It's who they are. It's a Sanders reality TV show. So, a fun weekend, very busy weekend for sure. NFL hit. I just think they hit another home run. Biggest spectacle in sports, and it happens not even during the season. It's pretty amazing to watch. And so from here, we'll see how it all develops. We'll see who was right and who was wrong. My Jackson Dart, my Trevion Henderson, my Jack Sawyer, lots of guys that I spoke up about, and I did it last year. Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Malik Neighbors, many guys that I was fortunate to hit on. We'll see. Jackson Dart, if I hit on it. I hit on 5th-round pick for Shedeur Sanders. I think he's out of the league in 3 years. History repeats itself, right? I don't think he's going to change. I don't think he's going to adapt. He expects the NFL to adapt to him. I don't think they're going to. It's not his world. It's the NFL's world. Come in and do your job. And again, I'm a little bit worried for the guy, if I'm being honest, because if you don't, they did it to Johnny Manziel, and many came out and said it. We had extra when we played Johnny Manziel. We were going after him, and we wanted to destroy him. I think you're going to see the same thing. He thinks he's above everybody, and he's not. He's just not. He's one of the guys. He's one of the guys now, and he's one of the guys that got drafted in the 5th round, but he thinks he should have been taken in the 1st round. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. I'll get called a bunch of names again, but oh well. All right, everybody. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy. Hopefully the weather's great where you are. Remember, hug someone, hold someone, love someone. It matters. And until we speak again, have a great day, everybody. Take care now. Bye-bye.